Welcome to the next edition of Around Storage Block Video Blog. I'm your host, HP Storage Guy, Calvin Zito. Hey, HP Storage Guy, Calvin Zito, and I do have a guest with me here today, but this is not going to be the source of the content of the video blog today. I'm at home. Last week I had a chance to go to Fort Collins, Colorado, where I met with Jim Hankins. Jim is a product manager for our X1000, X3000 family. These are our Windows storage server-based unified storage products that we have in our portfolio. During the course of talking with Jim, we went to the lab to get a look at the hardware in the rack. And as you can imagine, being in a big data center environment, it was a very loud environment. And I had my new audio recorder with me that Jim was using to record him while he talked and while I videotaped him. Unfortunately, we didn't start the audio recording, and thus it didn't get the audio of Jim talking. So the audio I have is not very good quality. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a voiceover of the video where Jim had showed me the hardware, and then we'll have a little bit more conversation with Jim to talk about what's new with the X1000, X3000 product family. So let's take a look at this. So here I am in the data center with Jim. Jim began talking to me a little bit about what's new with this portfolio is that we're moving the OS from Windows Storage Server 2008 to Windows Storage Server 2008 version R2. He begins by showing me the entry-level product. This is the X1400. This is a 1U product, uses 4 large form factor drives. What you'll see is common through the portfolio is that there's 2 versions of Windows Storage Server 2008 R2. There's a standard edition and there's also an enterprise edition. The standard edition in this case, running on this hardware, makes it an X1400. If this hardware was running the enterprise edition, it would be the X3400. The difference between those products is the X3000 products are all gateways, meaning you can attach a SAN behind them. You can also cluster them. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The next product in the portfolio, there's 2 products here. There's the X1600. There's 2 versions of it. There's a large form factor drive version that has 12 large form factor drives. Each of those drives can be 2 terabytes each, so it gives us a total capacity of 24 terabytes. There's also the small form factor version. This can be up to 25 drives, and with the capacity drives we're talking about, that would be 13 terabytes. From there we moved over to another rack and we looked at the new X1800. Now not only did this get the new OS that we talked about, but this also is getting a hardware update. The hardware that it was running was a DL380 G6. We're now updating it to the G7 hardware, so it's a DL380 G7. That moves it from a quad-core processor to a 6-core processor. As you can see, it's a 16 small form factor drives. Gives a lot of room for PCI expandability. This really is the performance model in the portfolio. Like what we talked about with the X1400 and 3400, if this runs Enterprise Edition, it's an X3800. So one of the key things of running these as a gateway is the ability to have a cluster. I mentioned that before. You can have from 2 to 8 nodes in a cluster, and this delivers some additional high availability features. The last product in the data center that we looked at that runs in a rack is the X1800 SB. So it is based on a blade system server, so this runs within the blade system chassis, uses our SB40C storage blade as the storage for it. So this basically gives you the ability to a unified storage system within the blade system chassis. There's also an enterprise edition, a software version that runs on it, giving you a gateway. That is the X3800 SB. So we've got one more product to show you, and for this one we've got a good audio track, so let's go up into the office area and we'll look at the desk side version of the X1000, X3000 family.
Okay, so now that we're back up here in the office world, I'm going to talk about the last X1000 product. This is called the X1500. And actually, this is one of the things that you and I talked about on the podcast that we did back in the summertime. Since this is the newest model in our X1000 product family. So this is a 5U tower. Just take the front panel off here so you can see it a little bit better. So as I said, 5U tower designed to be deployed in an office environment. You can see it's sitting here under somebody's desk. It's basically an 8 large form factor system, so you can put up to 8 large form factor drives in here, up to 16 terabytes of capacity. and this is running Windows Storage Server 2008 R2 Standard Edition as well, with the new products in November.
So that wraps up the first of a two-part conversation that I'll have with Jim Hankins. On the next part, we'll talk more about what's new with the R2 version of Windows 2008 Storage Server, and we'll look a little bit closer at the interface that we have with the X1000 and X3000. So thanks for joining me today. As always, you can find me on Twitter as HP Storage Guy, or you can find my blog at www.hp.com/storage/blog.